Welcome to Wealth Distilled. This is the show where we squeeze out all the fluff. We take these really dense, complex financial books and distill them into pure 100% proof strategies.
And today we are definitely undertaking a deep dive. We're getting into a classic, maybe the classic guide to financial liberation.
I think so.
It's Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin and Joe Dominguez. And this book isn't just about tweaking your budget. It's about a total transformation.
It's a red pill moment, isn't it? That's what we're here for. That existential wake-up call. I mean, if you're out there listening and you're one of those high-achieving professionals, you're clocking 60 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
You're earning what looks like a fantastic salary on paper.
Yeah.
6 figures. But you still feel, I don't know, like you're permanently trapped. You're in this debt cycle.
Yeah.
You're staring down burnout.
You're ready for this conversation.
You are so ready for this. Because this book, it doesn't just give you tips. It really forces you to acknowledge the life you are trading away for that paycheck.
Exactly. It's all about that trade.
And this modern money trap, it's so insidious, right? Especially for our audience. The people who have the, what do we call them? The golden handcuffs.
Yeah. Firmly clamped on.
Firmly clamped on. We see it all the time.
Yeah.
Lawyers, tech execs, consultants.
Yeah.
They have these record incomes. But at the same time, they're holding record levels of personal debt. It makes no sense.
It seems to defy logic.
How can you have so much affluence, so much money coming in, but feel so constrained, so trapped?
Well, it feels constrained because the entire roadmap we've been given for money is, it's kind of built on a lie.
A lie. What's the lie?
The lie that just unending acquisition, buying more and more stuff is going to lead to fulfillment. We're told, implicitly our whole lives to chase more possessions, but we never stop to question the why.
Right. Just get the bigger house, the faster car.
Exactly. And the authors, they argue that all the standard financial advice out there is just, their word is meek. It's too meek.
What do they mean by that?
Right.
Meek.
It means it allows us to justify our expensive habits, the $200 anniversary dinner, the yearly trip to Europe, the luxury SUV. We just say, well, I earned it. I'll just budget for it.
I deserve it.
Yeah.
That's the one I hear all the time. I work so hard, I deserve this.
That's the one. And we use those things, those costly trinkets and lifestyle upgrades, to sort of mask the deeper discomfort that our high-pressure jobs are creating in the first place.
That's a feedback loop.
Yeah.
The job creates stress. We buy things to relieve the stress, which means we have to keep the stressful job to pay for the things.
You've got it. And in the process, we sacrifice these foundational universal happiness factors that the book outlines so clearly.
And what are those?
Well, the beautiful thing about the research they pulled together is that genuine human happiness is, it's surprisingly universal and pretty inexpensive.
Those not the yacht.
It's not the yacht. It relies on things like your health, having a strong community and real connections, your own ingenuity, and maybe most critically, feeling like you have control over your own life and your own time.
Control. That's a big one.
It's huge. So when we justify these constantly increasing expenses, say buying a third car we don't really need or moving into a house that's twice the size we need, we're locking ourselves into a cycle of earning that directly sacrifices the very things that guarantee happiness.
Time and health.
Time and health.
Yeah.
Every time. It's this, as you put it, polished conveyor belt of desire.
Okay, so the mission of this deep dive then, for you listening, isn't some lecture about buying fewer lattes. It's about how to break that lock.
The mission is an existential transformation. It's about shifting from feeling like a victim of the economy, the wage slave, to making truly conscious choices about how you spend your one single finite life.
Liberating time.
Liberating time for meaning, for freedom, for actual happiness. And that is what the authors call financial independence, FI.
Let's get right to that, because FI, that term gets thrown around a lot, and I think it's often confused with like being a billionaire on a super yacht.
Right, and that's not it at all.
But the philosophy of your money or your life, it defines it so differently.
That is so vital to understand from the start. FI is not about being rich forever. It's about defining one simple, powerful word: enough.
Enough.
The whole transformation begins by locating that peak. We'll talk about the fulfillment curve later, but it's this idea that there is a peak and enough is a quantifiable, achievable number.
Okay, so what does it look like? What is enough?
It's having your necessities covered. It's having your comforts and, yes, some luxuries. But, and this is the critical part, nothing extra, nothing that drains your time or your spirit.
So it's not an endless horizon of more, more, more.
It's a fixed, liberating target. And to even begin to think about hitting that target, we have to swallow this really radical new definition of what money even is.
All right, I'm ready. Let's get into it.
Okay, so before we even think about opening a spreadsheet or a budgeting app, we have to just confront money as this abstract thing.
We use it every day.
We base our entire lives around getting more of it.
Yeah.
But what is it, really? We tend to confuse it with things, right? We think money is status or it's power or, and this is the most dangerous one,
What's that?
that it's a reliable store of value.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think most high earners today, we operate under the exact assumption money is reliable. It's the scoreboard, right?
Right.
It's how you keep score in a successful life.
And that assumption is precisely what keeps those golden handcuffs so shiny and so tight.
Yeah.
The authors, they challenge this idea fiercely. They say, sure, money facilitates trade, but its value is entirely dependent on a shared agreement. It's fiat currency.
Meaning we all just kind of agree it's worth something.
Exactly. And they remind us that this supposed reliability of money is only sometimes true. You don't have to look that far back in history. You see hyperinflation wiping out the savings of entire nations.
Right.
Or even more recently, think about the sudden catastrophic losses of pensions for all those Enron employees when the company just evaporated.
I remember that as devastating.
Or the wholesale disappearance of capital in the Madoff Ponzi scheme.
Boof, gone. So, okay, if it's not a guaranteed store of value, and it's not reliable power, and it's not just status, what is the single undeniable truth about every single dollar we earn? What is this life energy concept?
This is the radical definition. This is the real red pill moment of the book.
Okay.
Money is simply something you trade your life energy for. That's it. That is the only thing that is always true, no matter what's happening with recessions or inflation or political chaos. Every dollar in your bank account represents a chunk of your limited, irreplaceable time on this earth that you invested to get that currency.
Wow. That hits hard, because life energy is the one resource that doesn't matter how smart you are, it doesn't matter how much you earn, you cannot buy it back.
Never.
You could work 60 hours this week, but you can't reclaim, I don't know, the Tuesday afternoon you spent in a pointless meeting back in 2005. It's just gone.
It's tangible, it's limited, and it is irretrievable. The book even includes these really sobering actuarial tables just to make the point visceral.
Oh.
Yeah. A professional who's, say, hitting 40 years old today has, on average, only about 356,532 hours of life left.
That sounds like a big number, but I have a feeling it's not.
It sounds big until you start calculating how many of those hours you have already committed to your current job until the day you plan to retire. It shrinks very, very quickly.
Okay, let's make this calculation brutal. Let's make it relatable. We're talking to a high earner. So let's say their salary, after some basic taxes, translates to a pretty generous apparent rate of, say, $60 per hour.
Okay, $60 an hour, a great wage.
A great wage. And that professional then goes out and, impulsively spends $300 on, I don't know, a fancy jacket or some new piece of tech they just saw online.
Okay, $300.
What's the real cost?
The real cost isn't $300. That purchase is 5 full hours of your life.
5 hours.
5 hours you sat in traffic commuting. 5 hours you argued with a difficult client. 5 hours you had to manage draining workplace politics. 5 hours you were stuck inside an office building instead of being outside with your family or pursuing a real hobby.
And when you hold that jacket, you have to ask yourself,
is this piece of material worthy of 5 hours of my one finite life energy?
Suddenly 5 hours feels incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
It's not the money anymore, it's the existential burden of trading your actual time away.
Exactly. And that shift in perspective, it connects your day-to-day consumption choices directly to your life's purpose. Every decision you make with money becomes a statement about what your time on Earth actually means.
So resisting consumerism isn't about deprivation anymore. It's not about being cheap.
No, it becomes a moral imperative. You stop looking for external validation or these quick fixes from a shopping cart. You start asking, is the emotional relief I'm hoping to get from buying this expensive thing worth the life energy I traded to obtain it?
And the answer, especially when you're exhausted from a long work week,
is usually a resounding no.
Okay, that philosophical shift is really compelling. But the next step is where I think the dread really sets in for someone like me, the stressed spender.
Right.
I think I make, let's say, $70 an hour. And that sounds great, But the book suggests that even that calculation is an illusion. How can a six-figure salary result in me feeling so completely trapped in these golden handcuffs?
Because that $70 figure, it doesn't factor in the total investment of your life. It's just the tip of the iceberg. To truly understand your relationship with money, you have to calculate your true, real hourly wage.
The real hourly wage.
Yes. And this means factoring in all the mandatory job-related expenses, and that's expenses of both your time and your money that are secretly devouring your high income and your free time.
So this is where the curtain gets pulled back.
This is the brutal accounting. And it reveals that many professionals are selling their life energy for just a fraction of what they actually believe they are.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the hidden life energy investment first. The time we spend that enables the job, but that we're not actually paid for. We're not just talking about the 40 logged hours on our timesheet here.
Oh, far from it. And this is where high-income jobs, ironically, often demand the greatest hidden investment of time. Let's map out some of the extra hours. For many high-level professionals, this can add, 50% or even more to their stated work week.
50%. Wow. Okay, what's first?
Let's start with the obvious one, commuting time. If you live in a high cost of living city, you have a demanding job. A 45-minute commute each way is pretty common.
Yeah, that's pretty standard.
That's 7.5 hours a week right there. And that time isn't relaxing, it's stressful. You're often on work calls or checking email, you're already working.
You're just not at your desk.
Okay, what's next?
Costuming time.
Costuming. Yeah, preparing for that professional identity you have to put on every day. Shaving, extensive makeup, picking out the right work attire, the runs to the dry cleaner. For a meticulous professional, this can easily eat up another 2 to 3 hours a week.
I never thought to count that, but you're right. It's a real-time cost.
Then there's at-work meals and breaks. This isn't your peaceful lunch hour. This is time spent in mandatory working lunches, or fetching that specialized coffee, or just waiting in line at the expensive downtown deli. That's easily another 5 hours a week.
So we're already at, 15 extra hours?
At least. And now for the big one. Daily decompression.
Decompression?
This is vital. The authors acknowledge that a stressful, high-pressure job requires a significant amount of time to just wind down before you can be a functional, civil human being to your own family.
Wait, are you seriously counting my decompression time? That's just life.
But is it life, or is it a direct cost of your job? If you didn't have that specific high-stress job, would you need to decompress in the exact same way for the same amount of time?
Probably not. Okay. So what does that look like?
It can be an extra hour of mindless television, scrolling through social media, or just ranting to your partner about your workday. Let's be conservative and say that adds another 7 hours a week.
Wow. Okay, keep going.
And then there's escape entertainment. This is related but different. This is the time you spend consuming TV, streaming services, online games, purely as a stress relief mechanism because your job has completely depleted your emotional reserves for anything more creative.
So that's another 5 hours a week, easily.
Easily.
Okay, so if we add all that up, a conservative estimate, we've taken the stated 40-hour work week, and we've inflated the total life energy investment to 64.5 hours per week.
It is.
It is.
And we haven't even started subtracting the money yet.
Right. Okay, let's get to the income subtraction, the financial drain. And let's use figures that are relatable to our high-earning audience.
We have to deduct every single expense that you incur only because you hold that specific job. And this is where high-income professionals get hit the absolute hardest.
Okay, let's list them out.
Commuting costs. If you're commuting into a major city, you're looking at parking, gas, tolls, maybe a high-cost transit pass. That can easily be $150 to $200 a week.
Easily.
Work clothes and gear, that specific professional wardrobe, the high-quality briefcase, the specialized tech you bought to make your remote work seamless. Let's prorate that at $50 a week.
Okay.
The extra cost of meals. You don't have time to meal prep. Why? Because you're working 65 hours a week, so you're relying on expensive food delivery or corporate dining. This can cost $100 to $150 more per week than just eating simple meals at home.
Wow. That one adds up fast.
It does. And then the more sensitive ones. Recreational substances and therapy. The money you spend on premium wine or craft beer, or yes, even therapeutic sessions and expensive gym memberships that you're using solely to manage your job-related anxiety and stress. Let's put that at $75 a week. Job-related illness, the out-of-pocket costs for stress-induced issues, migraines, back pain, so medications, co-pays, physical therapy. Prorated at $50 a week.
This is getting grim.
And for our audience, this next one is the absolute killer: hired help.
Ah, yes. Childcare.
If you're in a dual-income professional couple, the cost of full-time nanny services or premium daycare that you would not need if one parent worked less or stayed home, it can be astronomical. We'll factor in a conservative $300 to $500 a week just for the professional childcare needed to enable both of those jobs.
Okay, let's run the numbers. Let's use a realistic high earner scenario to really feel the shock of this.
Let's do it.
Imagine a consultant. They're earning $150,000 a year. That's roughly, what, $2,884 gross per week?
Okay.
After you're in a high tax bracket, let's assume their net take-home pay is $1,900 for that 40-hour week.
Yeah.
That gives them an apparent hourly wage of $47.50.
$47.50 sounds great.
Sounds great. Now, apply the deductions.
All right. We've already established they are investing 64.5 hours of their life energy, not 40. And now we subtract the high-end job-related costs. Let's say it all adds up to $800 a week for the commute, the childcare, the stress relief, the expensive meals.
So after investing 64.5 hours of their life, their net gain is $1,900 minus that $800 in costs, which equals $1,100.
So now for the brutal bottom line. To find the real hourly wage, we take that $1,100 in true profit and divide it by the 64.5 hours of life they actually invested.
And it comes out to, $17.05?
Approximately $17.05.
That is staggering.
Yeah.
That consultant is selling their life, their precious, finite life, for less than half of what they thought, after you account for all the hidden costs the job demands they incur.
The golden handcuffs suddenly look like a very, very bad deal.
It's the ultimate red pill moment, isn't it? Would you be willing to sell your life energy for $17 an hour when professionals actually do this math and realize they're essentially paying a massive hidden tax just to maintain the appearance of a high income?
The entire calculus changes.
And this realization, this feeling that I am drastically underpaid for the total 65 hours of my life that I'm giving up,
Yeah.
that has to be the driving force behind this contemporary phenomenon of quiet quitting.
Oh, absolutely.
People are just pulling back that unpaid contribution. They're saying, look, if you're only really paying me $17 an hour for 65 hours of my contribution, I am simply going to stop contributing the extra 25 hours of commuting stress and decompression and managing my anxiety for you.
It's a completely natural, if maybe unconscious, response to the betrayal of the real hourly wage calculation. Financial integrity begins when you stop allowing yourself to be massively undercompensated for your full life investment.
And once you have that number, that real number, $17 an hour,
You now possess the true metric to evaluate every single financial decision you make. Which brings us to tracking your spending and the fulfillment curve.
All right, so I've had my shock moment.
Mhm.
I've internalized the horrifying truth about my real hourly wage. What's next?
The next steps in the books program, steps 2 and 3, are actually pretty simple on the surface. You just track every single cent of your income and your expenses.
At every cent.
Every cent. And this isn't about judgment or guilt. It's not about feeling bad for buying a coffee. It's about creating a map. It's pure data. You're mapping your spending patterns, and then the crucial part, translating every dollar you spend back into its true cost in life energy.
Using my new, terrifyingly low real hourly wage.
Exactly. And then we evaluate that map against this really profound concept they introduce called the fulfillment curve.
Okay, the fulfillment curve. This sounds like it's key to breaking that psychological addiction to just buying more stuff.
It is. The curve maps the relationship between the money you spend and the actual life fulfillment you experience from that spending.
So walk me through the curve.
Okay, so it starts at the bottom. Initially, when you have very little, fulfillment increases dramatically with spending. You start in poverty, which is unhappy, stressful, you lack necessities. As your income goes up, you acquire those necessities: shelter, food, basic medical care, and then some basic comforts.
And fulfillment shoots up.
It shoots up really quickly because these purchases are solving real existential problems. You're no longer worried about where your next meal is coming from.
Right. And then what happens once we have the necessities and the comforts covered?
The curve starts to flatten out. This is the stage where you have some luxuries. You've bought the nice car, you live in a comfortable home, you can afford the occasional high-end meal out. You've achieved a really high level of life satisfaction, but there is a crucial peak, a highest point on that curve. And the authors call that peak enoughness.
Enoughness. But isn't enough totally subjective? I mean, for a high earner, enough might mean a very large, expensive house. How do you know when you've crossed that line? Or are we just, sacrificing modern comforts for some extreme philosophy?
That's a really essential challenge to the idea, and the book asserts that enough is reached when you have everything you need to live a life that's aligned with your true values.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, necessities, comforts, and some non-distracting luxuries, but nothing extra.
Nothing extra.
It's defined not just by what you have, but by the absence of financial fear and the absence of drain on your life energy. You know you've hit it when you feel fearless and trusting and creative because you're not spending your life just maintaining all your excess stuff.
So what do we call everything that's past that peak? All the stuff that we buy in the pursuit of more happiness, but that actually ends up making us more stressed and unfulfilled.
Everything past the peak of fulfillment is classified as one thing: clutter.
Clutter.
And clutter isn't just, physical items, though it certainly includes that. It's the spare bedroom full of untouched hobby equipment, the expensive outdoor gear you used once, the 19 pairs of shoes when you only ever wear 4 of them.
Right.
Clutter is any excess that actively costs you life energy to own.
I hadn't really thought about it that way. Clutter doesn't just sit there. It actively drains you.
Precisely. Clutter demands space, which means you need a larger, more expensive home to store it. It demands cleaning and storage and maintenance and organization. And very often, these items were purchased on credit, which means they're also demanding ongoing interest payments from you every month.
So it's this material expansion of the North American psyche, as they put it. The more is better motto.
Exactly. It dictates that we just keep collecting clutter until we are literally trapped by it. The authors have all these anecdotes of people who have this realization. They find themselves unfulfilled in our big home, yearning for the simplicity we had as poor college students.
And this includes intangible clutter too, right? The
Yep.
time drains.
Absolutely. Intangible clutter is all that meaningless activity that fills your schedule and consumes your mental bandwidth.
Like what?
It's the long evenings you spend just glued to a streaming screen because you're too exhausted to pursue a real hobby. It's the obligatory cocktail parties you don't want to go to. It's even the time you spend on social media just trying to keep up with the perceived success of your peers. It's busyness with no real sense of accomplishment or alignment with what you actually value.
Let's focus on the consumption side of that, though.
Mm-hmm.
The book has this brilliantly specific term for those repetitive, almost addictive impulse buys that fill our homes and then just sit in a drawer unused.
They call them gazingas pins.
Gazingas pins, I love that.
The gazingas pin is any item that you just can't seem to pass up without buying. They're often inexpensive on their own, but they accumulate rapidly. Cheap tools, novelty gadgets, collectible fabrics, extra earbuds, or, like you said, shoes.
And they're acquired in what the authors call a wind-up zombie state.
Yes.
That perfectly captures the modern retail experience,
Yeah.
especially the late-night online browsing, what we now call doom spending.
Exactly. We're seeking an external solution to an internal problem.
Right. So this doom spending to alleviate discomfort or fear or guilt, it's fueled by the belief that a new widget is going to fix that feeling of burnout or emptiness that the job created in the first place.
And the Waimawa authors point out that these gazingas pins are often acquired during a weekly tour of the Stations of the Cross, whether that's a physical mall or just your Amazon feed.
And the acquisition gives you that quick dopamine hit.
A very quick, fleeting one. But when you track your spending and then you measure it against your long-term fulfillment, you prove to yourself that the initial pleasure is always followed by the negative experience of having to house and organize and pay for that clutter. It's a booby prize.
So if the peak of fulfillment is based on non-consumption, the solution has to be cutting back. But we hate the word frugality in the affluent world. It sounds like deprivation. It sounds like misery.
We have to redefine it. The book frames it as creative frugality.
Okay, creative frugality.
It's not about doing without. It's about, and this is a quote, enjoying the virtue of getting good value for every minute of your life energy.
So it's about being smart, not cheap.
It's about being incredibly smart with your one finite resource. It means learning to repair things instead of replacing them, sharing resources with your neighbors, finding joy in making do, and optimizing what you already own.
So when you ask if an expense is worthy of your life energy,
You realize that fixing a leaky faucet yourself or trading services with a community member, I'll watch your kids if you help me with my garden, it saves 2 forms of energy. It saves your money And it saves the time you would have had to work to earn that money in the first place.
And that's both financially sound and ecologically conscious. The whole save money, save the planet approach.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
So the foundation is set. We know the true cost of our job, and we know that cutting clutter actually accelerates our fulfillment. Now we move to the strategic payoff.
Yes, the path to liberation. And that is all about breaking the link between work and wages. The entire system is designed to move you toward that moment of true financial independence, which is the crossover point.
We've tracked our money. We've evaluated our spending. Those are steps 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
So step 5 is about visualizing this whole movement. The wall chart.
And the wall chart is such a simple but powerful tool. It's just a large, visible graphic, and you plot 2 lines on it, your monthly income versus your monthly expenses.
And what happens over time?
As you apply the consciousness you've gained from calculating your real hourly wage, and you start ruthlessly cutting out the clutter, your expense line naturally begins to drop. And often, it drops dramatically.
And a gap appears.
Simultaneously, a savings gap emerges between your income line and your now lower expense line. This visual feedback system is incredibly inspiring. It gives you tangible psychological proof that your freedom date is accelerating closer and closer.
Now, for our audience of professionals, a huge part of that spending reduction, a lot of that clutter, often comes after tackling the single largest drain on their future life energy, which is debt.
Oh, debt is a heavy millstone. It keeps you chained to your job. When you're paying 18% interest on a credit card, you are effectively wiping out massive chunks of your hard-earned salary before you even get to use it.
It's like working for free for the bank.
It is. And the authors emphasize that getting debt-free is a massive, life-altering step toward FI.
Can you elaborate on that? The emotional and the strategic impact of eliminating that high-interest debt, maybe using one of the stories from the book?
Absolutely. There's the story of Tanya N. The source tells us she had $26,000 in debt, which she'd accrued while working in high-tech defense contracting. A very stressful, high-paying, but for her, an ethically challenging job.
Okay.
By applying the YMIL principles, radically reducing her expenses, and maximizing that savings gap on her chart, she was completely debt-free in just 2 years.
2 years. That's fast.
And the moment she eliminated that debt, the moral obligation she felt to stay in that high-stress environment it vanished. She immediately had the freedom to leave her defense contracts and start an alternative career. I think she ended up setting up a dental clinic in Kenya.
That's the definition of freedom, isn't it? The freedom to actually pursue your purpose, because that obligation to just service past debts is finally gone.
It is. Retiring your debt returns the freedom to choose your life's direction. And once that debt is eliminated, the savings gap on your wall chart allows you to start accumulating substantial liquid cash.
The emergency fund.
Yes. The book suggests having 3 to 6 months of expenses in easily accessible savings.
And why is that safety cushion so crucial? I mean, beyond just general security, what's the strategic value of that liquid cash for a professional who's trying to get to FI?
It buys you leverage, and it buys you mental peace. Savings prevent you from making desperate, bad choices.
How so?
If you have 6 months of your expenses saved up, the threat of losing your paycheck no longer means immediate financial collapse. It becomes an opportunity.
An opportunity.
It gives you the power to negotiate your salary without desperation. It gives you the freedom to quit a toxic work environment without having to land the next job immediately.
Right.
Or the flexibility to take a sabbatical, retool your skills, or just systematically search for work that genuinely aligns with your values. That security is the engine that powers the final leap.
So all this effort, calculating the real hourly wage, eliminating the clutter, building that savings gap, it's all in service of one single moment, the crossover point.
Exactly.
So what is the mathematical, I guess the philosophical definition of that milestone?
The crossover point is the moment of true financial independence. It's achieved when the passive income being generated by your accumulated capital, your long-term investments, exceeds your monthly expenses.
And you plot this on the wall chart too.
Yes, you plot this projected investment income as a third line on your wall chart, rising up to meet your expense line.
Let's look at the formula the book provides for projecting that monthly income. How does that work?
The calculation is pretty straightforward. It's based on a conservative, long-term rate of return. You take your capital, multiply it by the current long-term interest rate you expect to get, and then divide that by 12 months. And that gives you your monthly investment income.
And it's critical that the interest rate is conservative.
Oh, absolutely. It should reflect what you'd expect from reliable, conservative investment vehicles, things that ensure the income is sustainable and you're not depleting your principal. The principle here aligns perfectly with the widely accepted 4% rule that was popularized by the later FIRE movement.
Right, the 4% rule. Remind us of that.
The rule basically suggests that the crossover point is reached when you have accumulated 25 times your annual expenses in investment.
25 times.
Yeah. And withdrawing 4% of that capital annually should, in theory, allow your funds to last indefinitely, even when you account for inflation.
Okay, let's apply this to our high-earning audience again. The people who, after cutting all their clutter, have managed to reduce their actual annual expenses from, say, $150,000 down to a lean but still comfortable $60,000 per year.
So if your new conscious annual expense is $60,000, you need 25 times that figure, which is $1.5 million to hit the crossover point.
$1.5 million. That still sounds like a huge sum.
It does, but remember, by finding enoughness and eliminating all that lifestyle inflation, they reduce the required capital by $2.25 million. That's the power of lowering your expenses. And once that third line on the wall chart, the investment income, finally crosses over the expense line, the chains are broken.
And what does life look like after that? Beyond the hamster wheel, it's not just retirement in the traditional sense, is it?
Absolutely not. The crossover point is the moment you have a fundamental choice. Your basic needs and your comforts are being met passively, which frees you from economic compulsion.
You can
continue to work, but because you want to. For love, for specific income goals, for the community contribution, or for pure purpose. Not because you must pay the bills.
And that allows for massive flexibility.
Things like taking sequential sabbaticals, retooling your skills every few years, or pursuing interests that generate what the book calls natural wealth.
Tell us more about that, natural wealth. This sounds like a concept that goes beyond just the financial calculations and offers a deeper kind of security.
It does. Natural wealth refers to all the non-monetary assets that enrich your life and actually reduce your dependence on national currency. It falls into 3 categories.
Okay, what are they?
First is abilities. This is about developing self-sufficiency skills. Learning to repair your own car or grow a garden or cook complex meals or fix things around your house. Every skill you learn saves you money because you don't have to hire contractors.
That makes sense. What's the second?
Belonging. This is about building a strong, resilient community around you. Having neighbors you can trust to swap services with, babysitting in exchange for help with yard work, for instance. This increases your quality of life and it minimizes your costs at the same time.
And the third?
Wisdom. Simply understanding yourself and the world better, which reduces your desire for all those external fixes we talked about earlier.
I see the positive feedback loop now. The consciousness you get from calculating your real hourly wage drives you to cut the clutter, which lowers your expenses.
Right.
And lower expenses accelerate your path to the crossover point.
Exactly.
And achieving FI then gives you the time to invest in that natural wealth, your abilities, your community, which in turn lowers your expenses even further.
It creates what the book calls financial integrity. It's a state where your financial life aligns perfectly with your true values. And it replaces all the anxiety of economic dependence with the resilience of self-sufficiency and community. That combination, that is the true liberation promised by this deep dive.
This deep dive has explored the core insights of the Your Money or Your Life program.
First, recognizing that money is your precious, finite life energy. Second, exposing the true, shockingly low, real hourly wage after you factor in all those hidden costs.
And third, understanding that defining and achieving the peak of enoughness is the key to sustained fulfillment,
leading directly to the ultimate freedom of the crossover point.
That's the distilled wisdom for today.
And we really encourage you to start your transformation by applying that red pill philosophy immediately.
Your mandatory challenge is to apply the shock math. Go calculate your real hourly wage. Take your net pay and subtract every hidden cost of earning it. Your high-cost commute, your required professional wardrobe, your expensive stress-related dinners, the cost of the nanny you only need because you work so much, and your doom spending. Then divide what's left by the total hours you actually spend on that job, the commute, the decompressing, all that stress time. Are you truly earning $47 an hour? Or is it $17? It might scare you, but that knowledge, that is the beginning of freedom.
If you want more high-proof financial insights without the hangover, make sure to subscribe to the Wealth Distilled channel.
Catch you in the next deep dive.